Black Ops Cold War is dog shit. Absolute dog shit.
And it makes for quite an intense, immersive experience.
This game is lacking the polish that Modern Warfare had.
And I haven't even got to one of the best aspects of this game, and that's the zombies.
Oh boy, we're back up in the Cold War business. Part 2, baby. Today is all about Cold War Zombies mode, the one most of us have been waiting for. Before I get into this video, however, I would like to state some important rules regarding these kinds of review videos. Essentially, everything from my last video applies to this one. That means no settings will be changed, since the base game with default settings outlays the experience that Treyarch wanted us to have right from the beginning of our playthroughs. Also, I will be rating this game out of 100 for the most accurate depiction of what I think this game mode is rated. Fuck rating games out of 10, too much room for error. Another thing I want you guys to keep in mind is that I purchased this game on the Xbox One X. I was not given this game for free, nor did I receive a download code or some nonsense. This review is only happening because I dropped the money for it out of my pocket. My goal here is to provide you guys with the most unbiased review that I possibly can, so I will be extensively and exhaustively laying down everything that I think Cold War did right and everything Cold War did wrong in regards to their zombies mode. One of the most important points that I need you guys to know is, as we all know, Treyarch created Cold War as a sequel to Black Ops 1. Therefore, I will be treating the game as such, and this will be reflected throughout the entire review. I don't think I explicitly stated that in the beginning for part 1 of this series of videos, but nonetheless, I rated the multiplayer for this game as such anyway. I also think that it is imperative that you guys know that I grew up playing Call of Duty, starting from COD 3, and have played every single COD thereafter, including spending a massive amount of time invested in zombies for essentially every COD game, including the really bad ones like Exo Zombies. This is important for you guys to know because I want you all to be aware that, yes, I have some knowledge around what makes a solid zombies mode in Call of Duty. This information also stems back to the point I just stated a second ago regarding how I am treating Cold War as a sequel to Black Ops 1 and not its own title. Now with that out of the way, let's begin with the good parts of Cold War Zombies. Starting off, many classic perks are back. This includes Juggernog, Speed Cola, Quick Revive, along with a new perk called Elemental Pop, which seems to be a new take on the effects from Multi-Pack-a-Punching back in Black Ops 3. If you guys remember Multi-Pack-a-Punching back in Black Ops 3, one of the abilities that you can get on your gun includes this one called Turned, which essentially just turns a zombie into one that ends up helping you and kills other zombies for you. In this game, it's actually pretty good because there's XP that is given for you in this game, when back in Black Ops 3, that was actually not the case. You would not get any XP from these kinds of abilities. So I guess that's a pretty good plus. Also, bringing back old perks while introducing new ones is a very good way to smoothly bring in new additions to a series of video games, especially for Call of Duty. I also commented on my last video about how your level carries over to zombies from multiplayer, but your attachments carry over as well, which is a pretty cool feature. This can be changed into a con for the game, but I see this as a fairly nice choice that doesn't contribute to an unnecessary grind for anything. Killing zombies also feels solid. Bullets don't act like they just go straight through the zombies and actually has some impact to each shot. This is probably one of the better feeling to kill zombies games for Call of Duty that I've played at least. Nothing really just kind of feels like a laser. Everything has a nice impact to everything. Also, exfil was a great idea, and I like the way they handled the ending sequence. Zombies swarm the absolute crap out of you while you try to make it to the exfil site and beat the game. Getting Ethereum crystals as a reward, which are also given to you from completing milestones in the game like reaching certain rounds. These Ethereum crystals are then used to upgrade specific things like weapons, field upgrades, ammo, and even perks. The perks portion of this section is awful, so I will be commenting on that in the next portion of this video, but everything else was executed fairly well. These upgrades include increasing gun damage, slowing down enemies, increasing your charges for field upgrades, etc. By the way, field upgrades in this game are essentially just special abilities that seem to have a cooldown after each use. Some field upgrades like Frost Blast are fairly bad at their base, but can become pretty helpful after using Ethereum crystals to upgrade them. Ammo power-ups also reload your gun automatically for you, which is phenomenal and makes the game way better. Not having to tell everybody to reload after picking up the drop is super nice. There also doesn't seem to be a perk cap of 4 anymore, since I was able to have Juggernog, Speed Cola, Quick Revive, Stamina Up, and Elemental Pop all at the same time. You can see that in the video that you guys are watching right now. I'm not sure if it's going to hit that part right away in the video, but it does happen in this gameplay. This is a super nice touch and gives people more freedom with what perks they can purchase without having to select only the 4 best. This can be manipulated into being a bad feature, however, because it creates less of a thinking game and takes priority out of selection of which perks you should have. All this comes down to which ones you should buy first. Zombies difficulty skyrockets after around 12. Everything as a whole just gets more difficult. Also, the addition of a flashlight for darker areas of the game achieves a much needed horror feel to the game. This is much needed in COD Zombies, considering World at War tackled horror fantastically, but essentially every Black Ops Zombies after that wasn't very nerve-wracking at all. And being able to craft things like stims and grenades from drops that you pick up after killing zombies is a really cool idea, and I actually like its inclusion. However, being able to craft monkey bombs is also interesting, but some people might not like that, but I think it's a super nice switch up for this equipment. Speaking of monkey bombs, these, including grenades, are crazy powerful and are actually useful at high rounds. This is super nice because your equipment and grenades offer a much higher importance in the game than previous Zombies installments. Your grenades don't just become useless after like round 5 in most of the old Zombies games. And I'm obviously just over exaggerating there, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Another thing is, after about 10 or so rounds, there's these green zombies that are very similar to the Warden from Mob of the Dead without the need to shoot their heads. And they're similar in that they spawn every 2 or so rounds and essentially harass the player and add a great deal of challenge to the game. They also split into 2 separate, less powerful zombies that you need to also kill after killing the bigger one. Both of these kinds of zombies hurl what looks like acid at the player, which does multiple hits if the player comes in contact with it. Also, the dogs in this game were replaced with dogs that look very similar to the green special zombies that were just previously mentioned and are actually a threat to the player now. They don't have much of a cooldown between hits and are actually really dangerous at high rounds. Another thing is the addition of an area called the Anomaly when you first encounter it is a purple portal that sends you to a distorted version of the map where you can craft the Pack-a-Punch machine. This concept is pretty neat and adds some much needed complexity to the map. Also, the Pack-a-Punch machine is not stuck in the Anomaly. It's actually accessible when you're not inside of it, so you don't actually have to go back to Pack-a-Punch and then wait for yourself to get automatically teleported back into the normal area when you first start off in the game. Pack-a-Punching can also happen multiple times with each Pack-a-Punch, incorporating very large amounts of damage into your weapons from each upgrade, making multiple upgrades incredibly worth it despite the insane prices. There's multiple tiers to the Pack-a-Punching in this game, and the last tier requires $30,000 to use. But the thing is, they actually get so insanely good that it's fairly worth it. I would actually say that it's worth saving up the money to purchase a tier 3 upgrade in the Pack-a-Punch machine, which is crazy to even think of. That's insane amounts of cash. And I think I've covered all the solid aspects of this year's Call of Duty, so let's move on to the negative aspects of the game. Starting off with one of the worst things that Treyarch could have done with Cold War, especially starting out, was to recreate Nocturne and Toten. Now, this point isn't targeting how Nocturne and Toten is a classic map and therefore shouldn't be tampered with, but I wrote this as a bad thing because we've had Noct in its original form in almost every single Black Ops game, so another iteration of the same map is just not something any of us needed. If this version of Noct were to come as a bonus map, say for completing the campaign like how you would unlock 5 back in Black Ops 1, this map would have been much nicer to see in this mode. I understand that Noct is where everything about zombies began, but this is just too much for me at this point. Another massive problem I have with Cold War Zombies mode is how often hand-holding takes place. It's literally the ultimate downfall of this mode. Literally every single thing is told to you immediately after beginning the game. Every story-based portion of the map is labeled with some sort of mission marker, and this is a huge problem because it causes you to not learn a single thing about the map. Since everything is told to you right away, there's no incentive to come back and try to get better at each map or try to learn the new locations of each object, perk, weapon, etc. Everything's told to you right off the minimap. The health bars for multiplayer also make an appearance in Zombies, unfortunately, literally above every zombie's head along with that specific zombie's name. There's no reason for me to know any of this information in a mode of this type. All this does is make the game feel more futuristic as a whole. I don't need to know the name of every single zombie that I come across. And for the common infected zombies, like the normal zombies you would kill at like round 1, their names are zombie. I don't need to know that. I wish this game would incentivize me to do any kind of research prior, during, and even after my playthroughs. I beat zombies and completed exfil literally on my 3rd playthrough, my 3rd attempt at the game. No zombies should be this easy, especially solo. Also, the minimap serves no other purpose but to hold your hand as well. Having everything labeled out for you on the minimap makes no sense whatsoever and only further contributes to the game just telling you everything, rather than creating an incentive for you to learn the map from scratch and figure everything out on your own. Past Black Ops Zombies games required tons of playthroughs on each map for a solid understanding of what exactly you're supposed to be doing. And this is just for the basics of the game, like finding perks or getting to/creating the Pack-a-Punch machine. I created the Pack-a-Punch machine on my first playthrough, through. That really shouldn't happen in any zombies map. The weapon rarities also make zero sense in my opinion. Whenever you get a gun from the mystery box, the weapon that you are able to pick up is labeled with a rarity, the damage it does, as well as how many attachments are on that gun. This is just another example of hand-holding because past zombies games required you to thoroughly use each gun in order to determine how good they are. This includes after pack-a-punching, since some guns can become amazing even after upgrading, even if they are worthless beforehand. This weapon rarity system makes no sense in this mode, and I genuinely don't see a necessity for the incorporation of such a feature. All this seems to look like is that Treyarch noticed rarity systems in other recent shooters and decided to copy the feature without actually creating a genuine need for a feature such as this. Another strange thing that Treyarch did was incorporate upgradable perks on the home menu. Now, I covered this in the positive/pro section of this video, but one of the things I said was the fact that I didn't like the perk section. This is that section that I'm talking about for some context. I am in no way a fan of this feature because the route they took to create such an extra was not taken in the best way possible. Instead of taking the base perk and its abilities that have been so common across past Black Ops Zombies modes, Treyarch made the perks worse than normal in order to incorporate an upgrade system that you have to progress through in order to get each perk to its true potential, which is basically exactly what the standard perk is in Black Ops 1, 2, and 3, and even World at War. So this kind of thing only seems to act like a feature that fishes players into coming back to play zombies rather than actually giving you a solid reason. This is just kind of a bullshit way to get people to come back. The biggest problem with this is perks like Juggernog suffer from the incorporation of this idea. Originally, Juggernog is used to increase your health to around 2.5 times its normal amount, but in Cold War, you have to reach the last upgrade in order to get to this kind of effect, which is just not very cool in my opinion. It would have been much nicer to see upgrades for each perk stem off of what perks were already meant/capable of doing from the past Zombies installments. This would have made the upgrades more interesting and way more reasonable, but at this point, this acts like more of a nuisance than more of a cool feature. And by the way, the Ethereum crystals that were previously mentioned in the good parts of this game are required for each perk's upgrade, going from its base to tier 1, then tier 2, and finally tier 3, each tier requiring that exact amount of Ethereum crystals, like tier 1, which would ask for 1 Ethereum crystal, or tier 2, which would ask for 2 Ethereum crystals. This idea could have been so much better if the execution was just a little more true to the original Zombies games. And another thing about this game is that I can't stand the idea of starting out with a loadout. Why is this a thing? This kind of thing starts you off with a massive handicap and only makes the game way easier in the beginning rounds. What's weird about this though is that you're given a loadout with whatever gun you choose, but no fucking knife at all, just fists, and I can't piece together why this was the chosen route from Treyarch. Now you can choose a knife as your starting weapon, but it makes no sense to be delivered into an infected hot zone in the beginning of a game with a loaded up, drenched in attachments weapon of your choosing, but zero knife? Just your fists? I literally cannot piece together why this was a desired end result. Picking up weapons from the mystery box also causes your current weapon to drop to the floor for someone else to grab. This might seem like a good thing, but it ends up taking the RNG out of the mystery box as a whole and gives every player an easier opportunity to get a gun instead of trying to grab their own weapons from the box. This is bad because it takes away the idea of the mystery box being a gamble. If you're able to hit the box and get a weapon that you don't like but somebody else likes, that's not necessarily a gamble. You're still helping out your team as a whole. If anything, it just took a massive amount of consequences away from the box, which is exactly what it's not supposed to do. Getting downed is also super weird in this game, especially solo, since you can pick up random self-revives on the ground and use those to pick yourself up rather than buying quick revive right away. The other weird thing that I don't like about this idea is the fact that if you revive yourself quick enough, you'll be allowed to keep some of your perks, which just takes the severity of getting downed out of the game almost entirely. Getting downed should render you way worse off after getting picked up, not essentially in the same spot prior to the hits you were taking. I also hate the chopper gunner in this game. It was shown off for the trailer in Zombies, but only serves as a cop-out and a quick getaway from a tense situation. And I don't just mean getaway, I mean you destroy literally countless zombies with this thing, and you can activate it literally whenever you want, with no punishment at all. Zombies will not hit you or go for you when this is in use, making it a fairly strange feature of this mode, and it's basically just an overpowered monkey bomb without the sound. Overall, the complexity and anxiety around Call of Duty seems to have been nullified completely. The voice acting for this game mode can also be way better. It's not the worst in the world, but some things come off very awkward and cringy overall, kind of like forced. And speaking of voice acting, your character literally doesn't talk at all, and when he/she does indeed talk, it's the most vapid lines you'll ever hear. Bullshit like, "Oh, that's so sad," or "Oh, you deserved that," after killing zombies can be heard from your character, but this is very rare as far as I've seen. And like, those are the worst fucking lines. Like, why would you want to hear that? It's almost as if a low budget, super anxiety filled Tank Dempsey just filled your screen. One of the best things you can do, in my opinion, in a video game is bridge the emotional gap between you and the character you're playing as. This is why the original 4 zombies protagonists, Tank Dempsey, Nikolai, Takeo, and Richtofen, were so loved. You knew every single character's intentions, emotions, and overall vibe literally at any time, which only made the player even more invested in the game they were playing. Adding a real storyline to this game might be the best way of fixing this issue, but as of right now, everything looks and acts way too stale and boring in its current state. Another little pet peeve of mine actually has to do with the lobby tab of the menu. There have been countless times where I've accidentally began a match on Dia Machine, hoping that I pronounced that right, in an online lobby rather than a solo private match. It would be much nicer to have a private match selection box rather than requiring players to click the featured game mode box, then sliding over to the private match tab, then selecting the map/mode they would like. Like I said, this is a pet peeve of mine, but I wanted to add it to this section of the video because bad lobby navigation can be super annoying in AAA games, but this is the only negative feature of this menu that I've encountered so far for this mode. As far as I'm concerned, this should be all of the negatives about Cold War Zombies that I've seen, but I'm sure other people have noticed more than I have. This section of the video might come as a complete surprise to most of you, but there's something that's been brewing in my mind ever since I began piecing together how much and how often Treyarch holds your hands when doing literally anything in Cold War. It's actually insane how easy it is to figure everything out in the map. Literally everything is told to you without question. It got me thinking about the complaints around map and Easter egg complexity in the past COD games, as well as a demographic of players that have began playing Call of Duty as of the last 5 years. Recently, younger and younger audiences have began indulging in the Call of Duty community, and most mature rated games for that matter, and since the complaints regarding the complexities of past COD games, it's made me wonder if Treyarch purposely made Cold War easier to understand so that they could hit all audiences for their game. By making the game easier to understand overall, less complaints about complexity would occur and younger audiences would be able to pick up their games quicker and quicker, getting everyone up to par as soon as possible. This is merely just an idea that came to me when writing the script for this video, so definitely let me know if you guys have any opinions on this take in the comments section below. As a whole, I'm very torn about Cold War Zombies mode. On one hand, there's some solid innovations being made on the mode. Like being able to upgrade stuff seems to be a pretty nice feature, at least for the most part, and the smaller things like crafting grenades, buying armor, and the sheer weapon power are very promising aspects of this mode. Unfortunately, the amount of problems I've found with this game are immense and mainly unforgiving. These issues with Cold War tend to not make very much sense with me, like the weapon rarities, health bars, and nerfed-based perks that need upgrading, and I feel like Treyarch was trying to innovate in the wrong direction with nearly all of these issues. The problem Cold War faces is that it's trying to sell itself as a sequel to one of the greatest CODs we've played, yet comes off as a brand new game overall. If this were not the case, then I can guarantee you that at least 50% of the cons I've listed for this video would not have been cons, but because this is supposed to be in between Black Ops 1 and 2, I'm confused as to why Treyarch decided to make this mode in this light, rather than use Black Ops 1 and 2 to formulate a mixture of this mode to give to the public. This all means that I have to judge this game as a sequel rather than a standalone game, which is what I feel like most people probably do. The mode does not feel faithful at all to the original 2 Black Ops games, 1 and 2 that is, but feels more like a futuristic take beyond Black Ops 2, but before Black Ops 3, maybe even beyond that. This game mode is not the worst in the world, but it's dug itself its own grave by acting like a sequel but portraying itself as a new series. Because of the reasons previously listed, along with the good and bad aspects of this game, I have decided to give Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War Zombies mode a 59 out of 100. I hope most of you are understanding of this rating and get why I've given this AAA title such a low score, but if you like the game and have already played it, then props to you, but this is just my opinion. If you guys disagree or agree with this take on the game, then please let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear all of you guys' reasonings as to why you think Call of Duty Cold War Zombies is either good or bad. And by the way, if you guys liked this video, then please consider subscribing. It really helps me out and lets me know that what I'm doing is the kind of shit that you guys want to see. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't like it, then dislike it. Like I said, comment below. I want to hear you guys' opinions on everything. And after all that, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. See you in the next one.
I've been holding all I own. I've been clutching all